Trump signs executive order, changing U.S. voting rules. New measure requires proof of citizenship to register to vote and limits postal ballot counting after Election Day. U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order that significantly alters the country's electoral norms. The primary change requires individuals to provide proof of citizenship when registering to vote in federal elections. The executive order cites examples from countries like Brazil and India, which implement strict voter identification systems. The order mandates that the Election Assistance Commission, EAC, require proof of U.S. citizenship, such as government-issued passports or identification cards, when registering to vote. Birth certificates will no longer be accepted as proof of citizenship. Additionally, the measure seeks to prevent states from counting mail-in ballots received after Election Day, a practice some states allowed, where ballots postmarked on Election Day could still be counted. Trump justified the action by stating that it was necessary to reinforce the integrity of the electoral system, mentioning that countries like India and Brazil link voter identification to biometric databases. However, legal experts question the president's authority to implement such changes without congressional approval, arguing that the Constitution grants states the responsibility to administer elections. Civil rights organizations expressed concern that the new documentation requirement could disenfranchise millions of voters, especially those with limited access to such documents. The order also threatens to withhold federal funding from states that do not implement the new directives, intensifying the debate about the accessibility and fairness of the electoral process. Critics warn that while election fraud is rare, the measure may result in the exclusion of legitimate voters and overburden state systems with new administrative requirements. This development comes amid Trump's continued claims of election fraud following his 2020 loss. However, previous investigations found no substantial evidence to support these claims. The implementation of this executive order could significantly reshape the U.S. electoral landscape, impacting both election logistics and voter participation. The measure also addresses mail-in ballots, seeking to standardize procedures and avoid prolonged counting after Election Day. The decision to not accept ballots received after the established date aims to increase public confidence in the electoral process, although it may affect voters who rely on mail-in voting. Reactions to this executive order are being closely monitored by lawmakers, election experts, and citizens as the U.S. approaches future election cycles. The debate over election security, voter rights, and federal authority will remain a central theme in the U.S. political landscape. In summary, the signing of this executive order by President Trump represents a significant attempt to reform the U.S. electoral system by imposing new registration requirements and altering ballot counting procedures. The legal, social, and political implications of these changes will be subject to intense scrutiny in the coming months.